What's going on, YouTubers, gamers and hobbyists? Forgive the glasses on top of the head there. Welcome to Bolt Action Maneuvers, the series where I build my bolt action set. I start learning the rules. Hopefully you can learn along with me. This was a series that was started many years ago. I've got my new updated rulebook here for this box. I've got a cup of coffee and today I'm going to be building my demolished farmhouse. But don't worry, this is the farmhouse I had from my firefight box set, but it's the same farmhouse and I don't know how to build it, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to be building today. So without further ado, grab your stuff, let's get to the bench. We'll talk bolt action. Here we are. We'll talk bolt action and other goodness. There's that. Okay. So I've got this as a reference to kind of look at what I'm doing, because I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't got a clue. It would seem we start with this corner, and there's other bits too. This isn't bad because we can have two farmhouses and I can make a little farmstead. What we're going to do though is cut them out. I was going to do a build along of one of my Imperial Fists characters today, Captain Darnath Lysander, but he's fine cast. I think he's in fine cast. He's some sort of resin anyway. And I don't have any super glue, so that's on order. I do have super glue, but not the kind I really like to use for that. It's this weird stuff in a tube. So then it's looking like, yeah, my goodness, I don't know here. Well, that looks like the back wall. So we'll cut these bits out. Just cutting these out of the sprue. But so once I cut the stuff out of the sprue, I can get going. This is nice, thick, chunky plastic. Relatively soft. Very akin to Games Workshop plastic. So it's nice to work with if you're used to that. Right, so I think that is the back wall. I suppose it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so that's that. And of course we've got it is the same. It's definitely the same. Got the Chimney Stack, which needs cutting out. There's no instructions for the building of this, you see, so very much in the dark here. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3 of these supports. They all look identical. So I'm literally just going to cut them all out. Then I'll clean them all up. Then we'll see about gluing. Okay. I might need to keep referring to the back of the box. Oh, I see. So that one kind of got that. on the outside there, which I suppose you can do. It's kind of like the reverse of the one I've got made here. That's fine, that's absolutely fine. We'll do that. We'll definitely do that. I'm glad I've got that as a reference point, because I wouldn't know what to do with it else. And I've read all the timeline of the bolt action stuff, so I'm getting to the more interesting part now in the rule book. So I thought I'd spare you that to start with, and we'll just get straight on with that. Right, I'm gonna let that go for about there. Right. Okay. Anyway, right. So let's grab my mold line remover. Start doing this. Right. So bolt action. Then it's been something I kind of regretted getting rid of, but at the time, years ago, I just didn't have the means financially to support that and a Warhammer fixation. And you know, as it transpired later on, that was a good call, because I would have probably ended up having to sell my stuff anyway. So might as well do it at the beginning when there's not too much to get rid of. It was just a starter set, firefight starter set, and a couple of tanks, maybe a tank commander, like a metal tank commander, I think he was, as I recall. Yeah. I can paint this up in my usual stone effect. So it's chimney breast, literally. It literally goes onto the outside of a house. That's fine. Just going to get a lot of the mold debris, not mold line, it's the sprue detritus, where you cut it away from the sprue. So we've got to do that. I'm gutted. Do you know, I've said before on my other stuff, but I was in the process of painting my front doorstep and I ran out of paint. Gutted about that, because today would have been an ideal day for it. It's really annoying. But what do you do? So I don't want to run out of any paints for my hobby, at least. Running out of paint for domestic chores is one thing, but hobby is quite something else. I've dug out all my paints that I think might be useful for World War stuff. So we'll do that. There we go. Yeah. I'll start going through some of the what you need, what else you need with bolt action, because that's how it starts, you know, really, once you've done all the boring timelines of Europe and Western Europe and all that. It's got a lot of mold lines on the side. You probably won't see a lot of it, but some of it you will. And I'll start to eliminate that. Come on. I should have prepared this beforehand, but then, you know, that's all part of it, isn't it? Let's get rid of some of this. Drag my bin over. So that's good. Right, so, and this here, it's difficult to see. I'm looking at the back. I think that's the way he's gone. Oh, we've got mould lines on the chimney. Pot. Yeah, I'll be able to start with a nice little skirmish, I think. So I've got some sandbags too. Oh, and I've got an MDF building somewhere. Like a house. Which I think would be good. Got all this plastic filings and shavings coming off onto the mat here. I'll definitely have to shake this out before I use it again. Or just empty it into the bin. Yeah, I think that's the best course, to empty it into the bin. Right, so let me sort this out, guys, and then I will open up the rule book and let you know what else you need. You probably know already, but if I get it out there with these, I've done a half track as well. I've seen it on the last one, so I've got this half track here. So for scale size, it's about right. I've got a book on World War II armoured vehicles, so that's going to help me identify them, and obviously with the painting of them too. So that's good. So this Band of Brothers box set gives you Germans and US Airborne, and I'm obviously I want to get some British. It's a British starter set, so I might have to get that one once I've been paid with my new job and all the rest of it. I might have to sort of indulge in that a bit. But yeah. Another thing I'd like to do on this week off is do a bit more prep for my D&D campaign. Got that coming up. So I'm just telling you about all this whilst I'm doing this here, and then we'll get on to the bolt action stuff. I mean, I'm used to doing on the bench, see, so I'm used to talking about, you know, everything. I found it very difficult when I said I wouldn't do that on painting snippets, so I've kind of had to relent on that rule a bit, because it's so hard not to. Right. Right. Okay. These three to do, but let's open up the rule book, shall we? Right, well, let's go back, 'cause I've already read about what you need, some things you need. Right. Basic supplies. Okay, so this is in the Bolt Action 2nd edition rulebook that comes with the box set. So to begin a game of Bolt Action, you will need this set of rules, which you obviously get in the set, and one or more opponents to play against. Well, I'm going to be doing it solo, so we'll see. Each opposing side will also require painted model troops, representing the soldiers, guns and tanks of your chosen army, excuse me. Finally, you must find a playing surface to represent the battlefield. A tabletop of some kind is the preferred solution, but the floor will do, and certainly has the advantage of size. Ideally, your battlefield will be fashioned to represent a suitable scene where the action is to take place. It might include model woodland, buildings, roads, hills, and so on. It could be an industrial scene with shunting yards and factories, or perhaps it is simply a wasteland of heath and marshes. There are just a few more basic supplies you'll need before you are ready to take your armies into action. Okay, you're going to know this, but, tape measure. During the battle, it is necessary to measure distances when you move your troops and when they shoot their weapons. All distances in this book are given in inches, e.g. 6 inches and 12 inches, etc. If you prefer to play using centimetres, you are welcome to do so, counting each inch as either 1 or 2 centimetres as you please. The easiest way to measure distances during the game is without a doubt a retractable tape measure, but you can also use rulers of suitable length if you prefer. They give you 2 cutout rulers in the box. Dice and markers, D6s. Bolt Action uses ordinary 6-sided dice, which we simply call a die, or D6 for short. Rolling an ordinary die gives you a random number between 1 and 6. Occasionally we will need to generate a different range of results, so you will see the following notation throughout the rules. You don't really need to know this, but D2. This means an ordinary die on a roll of 1, 2 or 3 the result is 1, and on a roll of 4, 5 or 6 the result is 2. D3. This means roll an ordinary die on half the result, rounding up, thus generating a score of 1, 2 or 3. 2d6. This means to roll 2 dice and add their results together for a total score of between 2 and 12. Only rarely will you be asked to add more dice and add them together. For example, 3d6, 4d6 and so on. D6 plus 1. This means you roll a die and add 1 to the result, generating a score between 2 and 7. This can be varied in many different ways by rolling different numbers of dice and then adding or subtracting different values. For example, you could be asked to roll 2d6 minus 1 for a final score of between 1 and 11. Or you might be asked to roll d6 plus 3, 3d6 minus 2, and so on. Okay, sip of coffee. Order dice. I'm pretty sure you know what order dice are. Just in case you don't, I'm going to show you. These These are order dice, okay? And they've got commands on each side, okay? So so 6 sides on each side. So one colour for each side. Different armies have different colours. So one says fire, one that says advance. So you got one side that says fire, and then one for advance, run, ambush, rally, and down. And these are the orders you give your troops, okay? And then when you've done it, you put it next to each unit. So here it says, in the bolt action game, troops can be given different kinds of instructions, which we call orders. There are 6 orders: fire, advanced, run, ambush, rally, and down. We will explain how these work in due course. During play, a die is placed next to an infantry, tank, artillery piece, or other unit to show which order has been given. Flip the die so the number showing uppermost corresponds to the order as follows. Each player will have a set of distinctly coloured but otherwise identical dice to use for orders. For example, Germans blue, Russians green. Each side starts the game with one order die for each unit, which is to say 1 die for each squad or team of infantry and 1 for each tank, armoured car, or other vehicle. So if an army has 6 infantry squads, a machine gun team, and 3 tanks, then it has 10 distinct units. The player starts the game with 10 order dice. Warlord Games have made sets of special dice in distinct colours. These dice are clearly marked fire, advance, run, ambush, rally, and down. Although you don't need to have these dice to play bolt action, they are a convenient and attractive alternative to using standard coloured dice. You will also need a dice bag. During the game, both sides' order dice are placed together in some kind of container and drawn out blind one at a time. So you don't know who goes first. You pick out kind of go, oh, green, that's my team, you know, or grey, Germans go first, or whatever. Or next. You draw blind one at a time to determine which side acts next. To facilitate this, you'll need a bag, large mug, dice bag, pot, or some similar opaque container large enough to hold all the dice. In the rules, we always refer to this as a dice bag, but it can be any suitable container so long as it allows you to draw the dice unseen. Okay, so that's your order dice. And they do give you some ordinary dice as well. So you could use ordinary dice and use counters. But then you've got to remember what number corresponds to what order if you're doing it that way. Come on, man, look at this thing. Right, back to this coffee. So we're at 23 minutes. 24 minutes. Yeah, well, this is bolt action manoeuvres, so it doesn't necessarily have to be half an hour long or what have you, right? Maybe as long as I deem it necessary. I would like to get these done and those pages read, because we're actually talking about what we need to play the game now, which is quite exciting. Makes a lot of messes though. Using this Citadel brush here, which is good. Right, that's that one done. Don't need to go too ape. It's just a bit of scenery after all, but it's nice to have on the table and look at and give you that suspension of disbelief, you know. So, as I was saying in the last bolt action manoeuvres, the half tracks, I'm going to need more of them. I've ordered a personnel carrier for my other side. It's not a tank. I don't think it's even as good as a half track, but it's just a personnel carrier. It will carry my troops to where they need to be. So, that's what it's looking like here. We're going to need to take that off a bit more. I think I will use Humbrel. Probably some sort of go with that side. Or that side. On the outside. If I go on the outside, it'll give me, Well, I'll go on the outside. So what I'll do is I'll glue. Oop, my glue's dripping all over my map, which is not a good start. Well, yeah, we need another wall section. Yes, we do. Yes, we need this wall section here. Like I say, there's no instructions on this, but you're kind of making it up as you go along. I think it's because it's designed to be kind of more whatever you want it to be, as opposed to that this is how it must be constructed. So that's the impression I get anyway. I can't wait to get onto the troops, the infantry. See what joys we've got there then. It's good to make this one in a different way anyway to previous ones. I'm not actually convinced it is that one even. Oh, it could go that way, I suppose, couldn't it? It could do. Yes, and I think it does. Do you know, I think it does. I think that goes on there. Yeah, that's alright. That's no problem. I really don't. I'm looking at the box art here. It just looks so strange. I mean, yeah, it's got... I mean, end of the day, I guess you can build it however you wish, don't you? It's you can add it on there. Sorry about this, guys. I'm just so at a loss as to where to put this. Think of my building citadel cutting mat thing is taking a beating with this build. Well, that's okay. I can always get another mat. I got it second hand anyway from eBay. Yeah, it's coming on all right though. It's definitely a tricky one, that. I'm going to cut out the wooden slats. It goes there. I promise I will get back to the rule book just after I've done this one bit here. No, well, tidied it up anyway. Prepped it. Well, the weather's been good lately, so what I will say is grass cutting season is upon us here soon. If I don't get rain again. So I'll be doing that a lot. So I'll probably be quite knackered when I'm doing these in the future for the next few months. I'll say the next 6 months. So I've cut the grass at some point on my weekend. Well, it'd be good to do that Fridays. I don't know, I'm going to get into a routine, you see. There. I think that looks good. Looking good. Looking good, my friend. Looking good. Ruined farmhouse. Right. Let's pop this lid on to the glue before we cause any more devastation. Alright, let's get to the rulebook. Okay. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the dice bag, weren't we? Right, so what else? Okay. Okay, if you don't have 2 sets of different coloured dice to use as order dice, then all you need are different coloured tiddlywinks. What's tiddlywinks? Tiddlywinks, beads or card chits instead. Let's say you're using chits cut from a sheet of thin card, or you could use the poker chips or anything really, as long as they're different colours, can you? One player takes 1 blank chit for each unit in his army. The opposing player takes 1 chit for each of his units and marks his chits with a cross. The chits are then placed together in the dice bag and drawn at random to determine which side acts next. When a unit acts, any dice can then be used together with the chit to show which order has been given. Alternatively, players can make up their own card counters with the orders marked on them if they prefer. Right, pin and other markers. Now that's these plastic little flame things. Pin markers are placed next to units when they are hit by enemy fire to show that they are pinned. This reduces their ability to respond to orders effectively. Any kind of distinctive marker will do the job, and some kinds of the thing we use are shown below. The explosions are the official bolt action pin markers, while the helmet and rifle markers can also be acquired from Warlord games or recreated using spare parts from plastic infantry kits. Occasionally you will need markers for other purposes, for example to mark a target for a for aerial attack or artillery bombardment. Use any distinctive marker for this. We often use a coloured chit. Top secret. Rerolls. Sometimes a rule will allow you to re-roll a result. This means to pick up the dice you just rolled if you're not happy with the result and roll them again. The second score is the one you must use even if it's worse than the first. Note that you can never re-roll a re-roll. You must accept the re-rolled result. Cool. Alright. What else have we got here? Conventions of war. Right. Measuring distances, and we've got a nice little thing here, picture on it. When you play bolt action, you will often need to measure distances between units, as well as the distance moved by models as they make their way across the battlefield. Each of our soldier models is normally glued on a round base 25mm diameter to ensure stability. The distance between two models is always measured between the closest points of their bases. If the models do not have a base, use their torso, hull, gun carriage or comparable core portion of the model. Ignore parts of a model that might stick out like gun barrels, bayonets, outstretched arms, radio aerials, etc. Sometimes a team weapon or artillery piece and its crew might be glued on a single multiple base for ease of use. When it comes to measuring distances to units mounted on such multiple bases, imagine that each soldier model has a 25mm round base under its feet, or a 25 by 50mm oblong base for prone / cavalry / motorbike model, etc. And ignore the larger base. If the crew suffers casualties, simply place a die on the base, and turn it to show how many models have been killed. Do it whatever way you want, or how you could turn it to show how many models are left, couldn't you? Distance between units. Most infantry units are made up of 2 or more models, but most often 5 or 10. The distance between two different units is always measured between the bases of the closest models in the units. Follow the same guidelines given above for models without a base. No measuring before deciding. This is the same as I remember before. Players are not allowed to measure distances before making a decision. A player must always declare his intention before measuring. For example, you might say, I'm moving this infantry squad in such and such a direction, or my anti-tank gun is firing at that tank, and then proceed to measure. This means that, just as in reality, players cannot be sure about distances and ranges until they go for it. Sight. The game rules that follow often refer to what a man can see, or line of sight. Establishing what an individual trooper may or may not be able to see does require a little necessary judgment on the player's part, but this will soon become habitual after a few games have been played. To determine what a man can see, lean down and take a look from behind the model to get a soldier's eye view of the battlefield. When doing this, you may ignore units of infantry and artillery, both friends and enemies, as in reality they would. As in reality they would not block line of sight, as they would spend most of their time lying flat on their bellies. Makes sense, unlike our brave models that represent them. If need be, you can gently lie them down or move them to work out your line of sight. Vehicles and terrain, on the other hand, you cannot ignore, and they will literally block line of sight of your models. Have a look from behind the firer's head. If the torso or head of an enemy model can be seen clearly, we assume the soldier can see that enemy. If only a peripheral part of the model can be seen, such as an arm or leg, backpack or the barrel of a weapon, then we assume the enemy cannot be seen because there are just too many obstructions or distractions. The same is true for vehicles. If all that can be seen is a bit of wheel or track, a radio aerial exhaust pipe, the barrel of a gun, or some other extraneous detail, then we assume the trooper cannot see the model or the vehicle amongst the din, smoke and dust of battle. There are a few exceptions to these rules, dense terrain, smoke screens, etc., but these will be dealt with where appropriate in the rules. Table boundaries. The game is always played within the boundaries of the area available. Troops are not allowed to move beyond the edges of the table during play, except where this forms part of an outflanking move or objective described in this game itself. Of course, this is not strictly realistic, as no restriction applies in the real world, but it is a necessary adaptation to playing games within limited space. Some pictures here are good examples. I like that artwork there. I like that it's got artwork. I do like that. Okay, we'll go on to units another time, I think. And how are we getting on with this farmhouse? We're not doing too badly. Not doing too badly. I think it's okay. This Humbrol poly cement has been absolutely amazing. I still have loads to choose this to sell. It's very popular it was. Nearly done. It's nearly done. Just really. Oh, I don't know. What I could do with doing. I'm going to cut out the other bits. Whether I do them on this video or not is another matter. Whether I make this, whether I make this part of this building, could do that, I suppose. Make it a bigger building. You could do that. Could have done that. We're not gonna though. So they've got it as a separate piece. So they've got like 2 bits of scatter terrain here. I can't remember what happened to my other one. So I obviously kept the old farmhouse there, but right, cutting these up, and that will be the end of this sprue, as it were. I might keep my spares in the box. I don't know, or will I just keep my little books in it? I don't know. I'm getting a really useful box for my models. Right, that's that sprue done. I've got the roof rafters to go in on the big one yet. Lovely lot of space on these sprues to build with. Love it. And then of course we've got the rubble bits. Here, so it's a really good bit of terrain. I just wish it had a little bit more I just wish it had some guidance of a couple of options, you know, how it showed you. Yeah, you can work these out. It's not like the half track, which was quite difficult to work out. To say that said, I don't think I'd be as afraid to do it a second time round. Nearly there. Oh, it could make it to the full hour here. Certainly working up to it. I think that's what we'll do. Oh, there we go. That's all the sprues cut out for the abandoned farmhouse and so on. Don't need the cover off of that anymore. But let's carry on. So we've got we're on to units now, aren't we? Yes, we're on to units now. Yeah, let's do this page. Okay, the models in your army must be organised into units prior to the game. The most common type of unit is an infantry section or squad. This is normally made up of around 5 to 10 men, representing the soldiers from one of the warring nations. Other units may have fewer models, such as a gun and crew or a machine gun team. Some units comprise a single model, or as in the case of a tank or armoured car. Types of unit. All units belong to one of the following three basic types. Infantry, by far the most common type of unit in bolt action, as in reality. This category includes all soldiers fighting on foot and armed with man-portable weapons. For our purposes, we shall also refer to units normally mounted on bicycles, motorbikes, or even horses as infantry, as in most cases such troops will fight on foot in our game. Artillery. This includes all large caliber guns and comparable weapons on a carriage or fixed mount. A unit of artillery consists of the gun model itself and a number of crew models to fire and manoeuvre the weapon. Most guns can be manhandled rather slowly or towed by a tractor or similar vehicle. Vehicles. This category includes all combat transport and towing vehicles, from trucks, jeeps and armoured cars to self-propelled guns, tank destroyers and tanks. Vehicle units normally consist of a single vehicle model, including driver and fighting crew where appropriate. Top secret. Important note. The basic game rules are written with units of infantry in mind. This allows us to explain how the rules work without overcomplicating matters with the numerous special rules that apply to tanks, howitzers and such like. The rules for different types of artillery and vehicles are explained separately in their own sections. Okay, models and bases. In these rules, we assume the models are mounted on the bases provided, which are 25mm diameter circles, or on the oblong base provided for prone soldiers, cavalry, motorbikes, etc. Sometimes a support weapon or artillery piece can be mounted on a single larger base. This is fine. Just imagine that each soldier crewing the weapon is mounted on a 25mm round base or oblong 25x50 base if prone, if the rules call for a situation where the position of each soldier matters. Formation. If a unit consists of more than one model, its members must remain in formation. This means that each time the unit moves, the models in it must form a group either in a line or clump, with each member of the group separated from the others by less than 1 inch. If an individual should become separated from his unit, perhaps because the other models have fallen casualty and have been removed, then this must be corrected as soon as possible. Normally when the unit moves again, and note that the unit must move in order to restore formation. 1 inch gap. To help prevent units becoming muddled, or positions confused during the game, units must always end their move 1 inch from another unit, whether friend or foe. In other words, there must be a gap of at least 1 inch between units once a unit has moved. This exception is that units assaulting an enemy move into contact and fight close combat, as explained later. As well as ending its move at least 1 inch from other units, no models in a unit can move closer than 1 inch to any enemy unit during the move itself. A distance of at least 1 inch must be maintained. Once again, an exception is made for units assaulting an enemy, as explained later. And there we go, that's units covered. So next time we will go on to the turn. Rather exciting stuff, folks. And we're that way through the book. Awesome. It's only a small book, so don't worry too much about it. Alright, I'm going to take my glasses off and end this video here. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Next time, I'm hoping my ruined farmhouse will be a bit more complete. It won't be painted like my other one, but you know, it'll be a little bit more complete at least. And yeah, that'll be good. So thanks again. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you dislike it. Like, share, subscribe, all the other good stuff. Check out Patreon, and I'll see you on another video. Bye for now. Bye bye.